Welcome, everybody, to our Oklahoma Union's podcast today. My name's Tim O'Connor. I'm president of Central Oklahoma Labor Federation. And this is about our seventh podcast? Thereabouts. Thereabouts. So we're trying to get better each time. And I welcome y'all. You can grab these podcasts at our hashtag at hashtag OKCOLF, wherever you get your podcast at. If you want to watch it on YouTube, you can subscribe to our Oklahoma Union podcast YouTube page. So that's kind of our deal, and you kind of know what the deal is. We kind of like to have conversations with folks that we interview, and today we're very fortunate to have one of my best friends in the civil rights movement, and it's particularly in the community, Marilyn Luper Hildreth, who, if you don't know her, you should. I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you don't, she's been very instrumental in our civil rights movement here in Central Oklahoma and Oklahoma City, and she always seems to keep me focused on our labor's part in the civil rights movement, and I appreciate all that guidance that she gives me. In fact, I've tried to do a lot of research on some of that just to figure out who those labor leaders exactly were. So, but anyway, enough talking for me. Marilyn, welcome to our little podcast that we do.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you inviting me.
Well, we appreciate having you. I'd kind of like to let people know a little bit about your history and your work in the labor movement and this stuff your mother, Clara Luper, was involved with. So tell us a little bit about that.
I was born in Northeast Oklahoma City on 13th at the University Hospital. I was educated at Northeast. I not only that, I graduated from Douglas. I lived basically my whole life in Oklahoma City. During the time that I was a child, as you know, Oklahoma was a segregated state. We had colored this, white that. Colored bathrooms, white bathrooms, water fountains, telephone booths, schools. We could ride on the colored part of the bus, which was the back of the bus. We couldn't ride in the front of the bus. We couldn't even go to the zoo except one day a week, and that was on Tuesdays.
I don't know if I told you this story, but when we first moved to Oklahoma City from Michigan, where I was born, my grandparents had a home over on about 28th and Prospect. So that was the first place we lived, and of course Spring Lake was kind of close in that area, as I recall. And I didn't understand what was going on as a 7, 8-year-old kid, but we went swimming one time over there at Spring Lake, and I just recall this, these African American folks standing around the fenced-in pool.
Looking.
And of course, my age, I didn't know the significance of that, and but later in life, I'm going, golly, if I'd have known then what I know now, I'd have got out of that pool and went out there and stood with them now. But go ahead, continue.
No, you're right. And when you said that, that just shocked me to another reality. At the History Center, we have a display about the Civil Rights Movement. And on that, I was sitting down listening to Mom, and she said that all the work that she did and the goals that she wanted to accomplish, one of her biggest hurts was when Spring Lake Park finally opened up to allow black children to go in there. And she wanted to take me, and I wouldn't go. And I said, oh, Mama, you should have told me. I'm about crying now. Because if I had known that she felt that way, I would have not have gone with my friends, but I would have gone with her. Yeah. Segregation is an evil. It eats away not only at the soul of the individual, but at the soul of the city, state, and nation. It can destroy the insides of that culture.
Yeah.
And people often ask me, how do you feel? And I want to ask them, and I do, how do you think I feel?
Mm-hmm.
And, when you can't do what you think is normal to do,
Yeah.
and no matter what we do educationally, professionally, religiously, we still, one thing about it, we still black. And my mother always taught us that. So when you're born in America, you're going to have to learn how to live black, and because it's important. Because you're going to die black. So you have to make up in your mind that you have to deal with the bigotry and hatred that you face.
Yeah. I've been following. I've been kind of running into some history stuff. A few years ago, I was in Atlanta. It was right after our plant closed in 2006. And I went there to do a 2-week training for organizing. I thought I was going to be an organizer with AFSCME at the time, so I went there to do. And anyway, they had a county hospital there in Atlanta that they were trying to sign up members at. So I was in there, and they had. I didn't realize it at the time, but they had 2 wings in this hospital. And what I learned is that one side was the segregated, and the other side was the white side. And I think they might have even kept some of the old water fountains signs that had that. And then the other thing was when we just got back from our national convention in Minnesota, I took a tour of the George Floyd's area, and where he was murdered. And that was culturally a shock for me because the guy that was doing the tour wasn't interested in being called a tour guide or anything. He lived there in that community, and he wanted to make sure we knew that this community needed to be more invested in, because there's all kinds of tourists coming in there now, and they don't spend money in that community really, and so I ended up buying some rib dinner from one of the little barbecue places in there to take back to the hotel with me, just try to support. And I got a T-shirt from one of the vendors there that he brought in to sell some shirts. So
well, that's in most communities. See, even I grew up at 616 Northeast 3rd, and then we moved to Northeast Park Street. And when urban renewal came through there, that was black removal, because our homes were paid for, but they had to go back, the families of Northeast Oklahoma City, and go in debt again to get new homes. And I hate for somebody to tell me about generational wealth, because you don't have that in the black community. Because every time that we get settled, they move us. If we didn't agree to move, they're going to move us anyway.
yeah.
And when you were talking about what you saw in Atlanta, I think that one of the things that made my mother so strong as an individual was because when she was a child, her brother died because they wouldn't treat him in a hospital, only because of one thing, that his skin was black.
I just that history, it seems like unfortunately we didn't learn from some of that history, and
We were trying to go back.
Doomed to repeat some of it.
We're trying to go back.
Seems like, but and your mother. Just a quick story about your mother and me. I think the only conversation I had with her was during one of the parades, and we were cavalry. I think when they used to have them. Well, we were there. They used to have them down on 23rd Street.
Right.
And I guess they just moved it over there to Calvary. And I'm sitting there waiting for the parade start with somebody else, and she comes by and picks me out of the crowd and goes, "Hey, where's all the white folks?" Because I think she thought, I think that was one of the arguments for moving it there. You might get more diversity at the parade. But I said, well, I don't know, Clara. I'm here. I don't know. I can't explain the rest.
Where everybody else
I can't
is.
explain the rest of them, but that's what I kind of loved about your mom. She was,
See, she realized a long time ago that we could not do this thing by ourselves. Oklahoma could not be Oklahoma City could not be the city that it is if it had not been for whites and blacks. Mm-hmm. And I know you know about the civil rights movement. We have had less violence here during our demonstrations than any other city in the nation. And we had the longest nonviolent demonstration in America for 6 years. Mm-hmm. I didn't say we didn't go to jail. I didn't say people didn't try to get violent, but it was because of the diversity of the people here. They wanted to see Oklahoma City grow.
Mm-hmm. That's why I was so glad at one of the church services for that Katz
Right, Freedom Fiesta.
Ross Williams, we recognized Ross Williams one year. I don't think he was a union member at the time, but he worked through his church. He worked through his church to.
He was with the union. That's how I met Ross.
Yeah, but so I do have one name.
Well, and back again, that was when Cecil Williams and Leslie Brown were involved. And let me tell you what the union did. We're skipping around a little bit.
That's okay.
But I wanted to get this in. They had started this apprenticeship program. One of the best programs, and I like to see them get back to it, where they would take young men, and it's hard for young black men, and they would train them in a skill so they could go and support their families with dignity. Mm-hmm. That's what it's going to take. We're going to have to get back to the training of it. And it's easy to say I get in the fighting mood when they tell me I need to pull myself up by my bootstrings. That was easy to do if you own some boots.
Right.
When you don't have no boots, how am I going to pull them up?
Yeah, rising tide lifts all ships unless you don't have a boat.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know there's some things coming up in August that we need to talk about. You want to talk about the Katz that whole weekend?
I love talking about Katz Drug.
I know you do.
Because when I was growing up, Katz Drug represented a hub here in Oklahoma City. When you left the east side and go downtown, so you could go work in Nichols Hills, it was a bus stop right in front of Katz Drug. That you had to change buses. So my grandmother was a maid in Nichols Hills, so she went back and forth, and other family members worked in Nichols Hills. And when they would go to downtown, ride the bus, it could be 100 degrees, and they could not go in and sit down in Katz and drink a cup of water or Coke. But they could go in there and spend their money on other things. Or if they wanted something to eat, they would sell them something to eat. But they would have to take that brown paper sack and go back to the back of the building. That's the way it was when I was a kid. And one thing I could never understand about segregation, how a person like my grandmother could go out in Nichols Hills and raise their kids and clean and bathe their kids and nurse their kids, but she was not good enough to sit down at the table next to them, although she cooked the food that they were about to eat. It didn't make a lot of sense. Segregation is something I just couldn't understand.
I don't understand it either, but
well, I'm going to be real short. My mother wrote a play, Brother President. It was the story of Martin Luther King Jr. and the Civil Rights Movement. She taught school at Dungy in Spence, Oklahoma. And Spence is a very poor area. It was. But what they had was a lot of guts. They had a lot of honor. And she wrote this play. And the students after Dungee were so proud of themselves that Herb Wright was in the audience that night. And he was the National Youth Director of the NACP. And he invited them after we got the standing ovation. I was in it because Mom had to do something with Calvin and I, so we were in the play. And he invited her to bring one student to New York City to the play. And you know, Mom, oh no, honey, I can't do that. I can't take one student if I can't take all of my students, because all of my students are important and they need this opportunity. And her Wright told us, said, now you know, Miss Luper, we don't have enough money to bring all these kids to New York City. And she told him, you just give me a chance. We'll get the money. And Lord and behold, did they sell catfish dinners, chicken dinners, blow pops, pickles. Went to New York City. And that's probably the greatest thing that happened to the young people in this area, because many of them never had an opportunity, some even to come to Oklahoma City very much. But then for the first time in our lives, she planned this trip where we would go through the North. And we were able to go into a restaurant like we were somebody. We could sit down at the table and have a Coke or a hamburger. And they didn't care whether we were black or white. We were able to do it just like any other kids in America. And I get so tickled because I think often of Harriet Tubman when she said a little bit of freedom is a dangerous thing.
Yes.
So we like that. We went to New York, put on this play, and we had to come back to Oklahoma. But we had to come back through the South. And I think that she intentionally did that so we could see the difference. And when we came back through the South, we faced the same age-old discrimination, bigotry, and hatred that we had growing up. And we said there, I can remember on that bus, said, we don't want our city to be like this. We want our city to be where everybody can sit down. And we came back to Oklahoma City, and we met at we didn't have an office or anything, so we always would meet in Mama's front yard on Park. On the ground or whatever. And we decided then that we would meet with the Restaurant Association here in Oklahoma City and ask them if they would integrate so that we could sit down at the table. 2 years later, they came back and told us no, because their patrons did not want to sit next to a black person in the restaurant. So, you know, I have a brother. After they came back with that decision, and we were meeting and we were debating. We debate everything because Mama would use it as a way of teaching us, and she was always teaching. Even things that, who had the most sense, a man with hair or a bald head man? Now, there's some logic to it. I don't know what it was, and I made a motion at the NACP Youth Council meeting that we would go down to Katz Drug store, and Katz is the only place I really knew because we were in and out, and we would just go in there and sit down till they served us. And my brother looked at me, he said, you have lost your mind. Don't you know those white folks gonna kill us if we go down there and sit down at Katz Drug store? So we had to debate the issue in meeting, and we had a vote, and I won. And that night we went down to Katz Drug store. It was, it kind of, the thought about it, the looks on those people's face when we took a seat, it was like we had leprosy. But We were well dressed, well mannered, and we had our school books because we didn't talk during that movement. We studied. But people that had passed us by in other time periods that we knew were mean to us, that people spat on us, kicked us, talked about our national heritage, didn't even know our names. And we were kids. The youngest was 7 and the oldest was 17 years old. And how I couldn't understand how adults could be that mean to young people just because they wanted to be equal.
I don't understand it either. I read about it and I listen to people like you, and I lived through some. I was born in the late 56, so caught in the tail end of some of that. But the stuff I've learned since then just amazes me. We allowed ourselves to get caught up
In nothing.
And
we say we're Christians, and we have to love everybody. The Bible says we have to love even those that treat us bad and do us wrong. We have to love them anyway, if we're really Christians.
Right.
And that's one thing about the civil rights movement. It taught us love. In spite of how you treated me, I had to love you anyway.
Yeah.
And so many of us that grew up during that era still take that on to our kids and our grandkids. So the story of Oklahoma City was not headlines in a lot of papers, and it did not get the national coverage that a lot of the violent places did. But we kept on with the struggle. And because of the fact that young people in Oklahoma City sat down here, that young people throughout this nation stood up and did a nationwide sit-in. And I was reading a book, and I didn't even remember this, that we were at an NAACP convention and Martin Luther King spoke. And he asked for the young people from Oklahoma, because of the fact that they showed courage that had not been shown anywhere in this country before, to stand up. And they gave us a national standing ovation at the national convention. I didn't remember that. I was just reading it. I said, wow. But I'm glad we did, because we have changed the course of history.
Yes, ma'am. We sure have. And that anniversary of those sit-ins, Katz Drug Store sit-ins coming up.
It starts on August 19th, which is a Wednesday. But we're having activities on Thursday, Friday. Saturdays we have the reenactment. And we're encouraging our community, black, white, and polka dot, come and walk with us. Because some of us, when we started out, we were young, but now we're old. And it's going to be hard to walk that distance. But it's so important. And I've been to 2 sit-in funerals this week.
Oh, that's right.
And it's hard to explain how that they could go down as kids while other kids were looking at cartoons and having sleep late on Saturdays, and we had a picket sign so that they could enjoy the freedoms that their parents didn't. But we have to continue to tell our story, because our story is a great story. It shows that even a child can lead them. And if it had not been for the courage of my mom as a leader, adult leader, I don't know where we never would have been able to do it.
Yeah. That's why she's recognized the way she is,
And when she was living, it was not like this.
No.
You know that. But she was courageous.
Yeah.
And she said, I said, Mom, I don't understand how you can go through all this, how you can stand up against injustice and people that stab you in your back and mean to you. And even try to get your job and all this just because of the fact that you want them to have a better day. And she said, that's okay, Marilyn, because I believe. I said, you believe what? And she made me memorize this. And she had it over her bed. It said, I believe in the sun when the sun didn't shine. And I believe in the rain when the rain didn't fall. And I believe in a God that I've never seen. That's how I've made it.
That's great.
So,
That's great. So, do we have dates for that? Wednesday
Wednesday is the 19th Thursday. We're having a musical, not a musical, but some young people and some groups will be at the History Center. And Friday we were having an art show at the Wellness Center right down the street on Lincoln. Saturday we'll be at Katz Drug at the Calvary Church, and we'll walk down to the plaza. Have you been? You've been to the plaza?
Yes, I've been.
What do you think about it?
It's great. It's great.
I love it.
Yeah, yeah. It's quite a monument. Not, it was needed down there, and I'm glad it's there. And I hope we'll be able to maintain and keep that. There, and I'm sure we will. But.
And let me tell you something. We were talking about the labor unions. The labor unions played a vital part in the civil rights movement here in Oklahoma City. Not only during the sit-ins, not only during the sanitation, but on a consistent basis. And it was not a popular thing to be involved in the civil rights movement. It's so popular now, but it was not popular then. It took guts for the people that were from the labor unions to be involved with us. And I have so much respect for them and what they did.
Look, even in the 50s, labor movement had, workers' rights or human rights or, civil rights. Or, it's all combined, and it's all important. And I would be disappointed in the labor movement if we hadn't have gotten in those struggles and then tried to maintain and work
the right
with the
to
community.
vote. Yes. Yeah. And see, unless the good people of this nation stand up against the injustices that are going on in this country now, we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
We have to vote. We have to get out and get our neighbors and our kids and our grandkids out to vote, because that's the only way that we can change the situation that's going on in this country.
Yeah, but we can march in the streets, and we should, but if we aren't turning that into votes at the polls this November, we're missing the boat. And I was at a meeting Saturday, and we talked about strategies for a candidate. We're going to go talk to these people on the doors, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of it, I said, well, we're approaching these elections like it's going to be business as usual. And I don't think they are. I think there's going to be a lot of interference or attempted interference, and we're going to have to be vigilant in what we do to make sure that our people are getting opportunities to vote
and they're trying to take it away. Look at the Supreme Court decision. Look at the legislation. They're going to have to vote no on that legislation that they have, because many of us have been married more than one time. And how are we going to go back and go to our maiden name when some of them are dead? Oh, no. We have to vote. And the Legacy Committee spends every election, and that's why the vote is strong on the east side. We call people and ask them, do you need a ride to the poll? I told some people that if we had to horse tie them, I'm taking them to the polls, because their votes are so important.
That's going to, I hadn't thought about that as a strategy and stuff we've been talking about amongst ourselves so far, but I think it really has to be a part of it, that we're going to have to plan, what if you go to a poll and you see something, you should say something. But who are you going to say that to? That could help. And I think between the communities here in the city and even across the street, I think we're just going to have a plan to say, if you see something, if you see a National Guardsman at a polling place, or extra thick police presence or whatever, we need to know about that, and then figure out a strategy of how we defend our right to vote. With all that going on,
it's important.
Yeah,
it's more important than anything that we've done in decades.
Right.
Because I'm afraid. I'm afraid for this country.
I am too. Yeah, it's just this is a crazy. I mean, we're living in a crazy world right now, and I don't know how it got to this point, but it's where we are, and how are we going to combat and do the right things by working folks? Make sure they're getting wages that they deserve, and a union if they want one, and the ability to vote in a free and fair election in the United States, which you'd think would be a basic. There shouldn't be any debate about that, but there seems to be for some reason.
But it's almost to the point that they're trying to turn back the hand of time.
Yeah.
They're trying to take us back to a place that we're not going to go.
Yeah. Well, they talk about some of the redistricting that was done, like in Memphis, for instance. And I said, well, I'm thinking in my mind, I said, well, hell, they've already been doing that in Oklahoma. In Oklahoma with this 5th district, I mean, they wanted to make sure that the leadership was in total control of the Congress and the Senate, and so they even did some gerrymandering in Oklahoma.
Yes,
basically, which they tell me is a deep red state for some reason, but they still felt the need to do that.
And they did that.
Yeah, no, they did. They damn sure did. So, Freedom Festival.
It starts on the 20th of August. And I want to invite your listening audience to come and join us. You can't teach your kids Oklahoma history if they don't know Black history, if they don't know Indian history. And we're all mixed up in this boat together. But if that boat goes down, all of us going to drown.
Yeah. So let me kind of put a bow on this. If this episode that we're just now recording, if you had to give it a name, what would you give it?
What would I give it?
Make it a good one, because we're putting it on. No.
Unity in our community.
Unity in our community. That's a good one. We got it.
Okay.
So,
and I'm going to give you the information on the Freedom Fiesta. And I want you to invite, and I want to thank you for the job that you all have done. But it's not good enough.
Yeah. It's never good enough.
We'll never stop. And we're going to have to fight to the day we die.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's why I told you couldn't give up. Because of age. We just have to be persistent.
All right.
And I'm 78. But I know that God put me here and leave me here for some reason. And that's to encourage young people to do what's right to do about each other.
Yeah. But I really appreciate you coming in today.
I love you. You've always been such a joy. You've always been such a joy.
And we are going to have to go to Cheevers and get that chicken fry one of these days. We haven't done that.
And thanks for the hamburger and Coke.
Oh yeah. Well, you can thank Bruce Davis with AFSCME. He's always good to help with that.
Tell Bruce Davis. They said he's the best in Oklahoma.
And so and for my union folks that listen in or watch us on this, we're going to be getting information out about all the events taking place for that.
Great.
particularly the drugstore march that they're going to do on that Saturday.
And Sunday we're going to have
Sunday.
a big rally at Fifth Street Baptist Church, and that's the home church of the sit-ins.
Yeah, so I'm going to get all that information out, and I encourage you to participate in that. We will do some extra mobilization stuff to make sure we can try to get a crowd to the march, and then on the Saturday or the Sunday night. You can come to the service and
You're welcome.
get some inspiration, and then get a hamburger and a Coke. After that, we aren't even going to charge you the $2 or whatever, whatever that was. But and like I said, Bruce is always good about doing that. So, once again, I appreciate you coming in, and we'll do this again sometime down the line.
Please.
Let me just tell our viewing people, we probably are going to schedule another podcast for next week. I want to bring in. We just nominated and appointed Pastor Christine Bird as our chaplain at the Labor Council.
Really? Okay.
And so she has been working real hard on this labor in the pulpits thing, which we're going to try to get some workers in front of congregations and give a 5-minute union message. We're in churches where we can do that. So she's been working extremely hard on that. I want to bring her in to talk about that, because that's coming up.
She's good.
She's been a tremendous help on this for sure. And then trying to rebuild some of our relationships with some of the faith groups that we work with.
And see what has happened, that a lot of the people that we were working with, they've gotten old and died.
I know.
So we had...
Hey, I said the other day after I got back from Nashville, a good friend of mine that I worked with in the labor movement over the years, Vonda McDaniel, passed away in Nashville, and I got to thinking about it. I'm going, God dang it, everybody in my age group is either retiring or they're dying. And I'm going, oh my God.
That's life.
Yeah, I know.
That's what they call it, life.
There's a circle of life there. But anyway, that's our podcast for today. I appreciate Marilyn for coming in and sharing her wisdom and knowledge of the civil rights movement here in Oklahoma City. And I can tell you right now, she's going to stay on me to keep us labor folks involved in stuff, and I want her to do that, take the time on that weekend. We'll get the dates out and times and stuff, to celebrate that, because it was the first sit-in the country, 1958.
1950, August 19th, 1958.
Although some others want to dispute that, we got the receipts. So anyway, I appreciate you listening. Like I said before, you can get our podcasts anywhere you get your podcasts at hashtag OKCOLF. And if you want to watch the video of this, it's going to be on our YouTube channel, Union Podcast, Oklahoma Union Podcast. And you can subscribe to that, and they'll give you notifications on when these come out. So anyway, that's our podcast for the day. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. So have a good day, and we'll see you next week, and keep fighting.
Thank you.
All right. I think that's the best one yet.